Good morning. I'm Reverend Rose. I'm the minister here at SMUUCh. It's a joy to see you all. To all who are gathered here and to everyone watching online, hello. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. We are so happy that you've chosen to be here today. That you're here in our community with us is something that we celebrate. We extend an especially warm welcome to all of our visitors. If you are visiting for the first or second time today, after the service, please look for the welcome table in Fellowship Hall, which is right through those doors, where SMUUCh members will be waiting to chat with you. We were all newcomers once, even me, and we're so glad that you are here. And if you're joining us online, please say hi in the chat. We now invite everyone to rise and greet each other.
Start with that one.
Let us begin with an introduction from Tina Colm of our guest speaker.
This morning, I have the honor of introducing our speaker, Dr. Jeff Fouquet. I met Jeff through a small group here at church, and in getting to know him, I knew that what he has to say should be shared with the wider congregation. By day, Jeff is a high school teacher and an adjunct professor teaching advanced classes in language and composition. He holds a doctorate in educational leadership from KU and is a two-time Kansas Teacher of the Year nominee. Known to students as Sensei Fouquet, due to his rare blend of intensity and compassion, he felt called to teaching, honored to help so many children find their footing, themselves, and a sense of hope for the future. But nights, weekends, and summers, his own hope is expressed in a different way. Jeff is a certified naturalist and an interpretive guide, furthering a love of nature and an environmental ethic in partnership with a number of organizations. One Sunday after our small group meeting, he is headed out with his canoe lashed to his truck to spend the day as a Kansas River guide for the Friends of the Kaw. Another day, he is reading animal tracks in freshly fallen snow. He works with birds of prey at Ernie Miller Nature Center, teaches outdoor skills for Johnson County Parks and Rec, and has conducted biodiversity studies for the CAVE Research Foundation and the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. All of Jeff's teaching, writing, mentoring, and conservation are grounded in his unique take on spirituality, a belief that our lives are truly primitive, precious, and wild.
Next Sunday, March 23rd, there will be a starting point class held here at church from noon to 2 p.m. Starting Point is a class that we offer to individuals who have been coming to SMUUCh for a while and who are considering membership and want to do a deep dive into Unitarian Universalism and how this church operates. If you'd like to sign up for next week's class, there's a link in your weekly all-church email. You can also sign up in Realm or talk to Forrest Fisk at the front desk after the service. Childcare will be available. And now we have an announcement from Jen Lacey.
Good morning. I have two quick announcements. The first is that there is our monthly Tall in the Fall meeting at 11:45 today in the multipurpose room just on this hallway. We will review this year's goals and discuss ongoing projects like our historical timeline project and the new signage in the welcome area. All are welcome to join. And lastly, our women and femmes are invited to celebrate the spring equinox this coming Thursday, March 20th, from 6 to 8 p.m. in the fellowship hall. There will be food, singing and drumming, spring rituals, altar building, egg dyeing, and lots more. I hope you can join us.
We are so excited today to have not one, but two guest musicians with us. Iona DeWalt is here on cello, and Sam Wiseman is here on percussion. Let's give them both a round of applause. And now, before we get to the ringing bowl, we have a stewardship testimony from none other than Jay Bott.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, I'm Jay Bott. Okay. Whoa, I'm real tall now. All right, hi, I'm Jay. So when I was first asked to give a testimonial for the stewardship campaign, I was a bit conflicted. So on one hand, I love to talk, particularly to a captive audience. But on the other hand, you know, I've never really considered myself very religious in particular. I mean, still to this day, I find it a little hard to say out loud that I go to church. Like, the word kind of gets stuck on my throat. I don't like the taste of it. But as long as we're being honest, you know, the Shawnee mission part of SMUUCh doesn't really do it for me either, and it's not the Shawnee part. Unitarian is something I'm ambivalent about, but Universalist is certainly a concept I can get behind. So I consider myself to be Hindu, but that label too is filled with tension. Ironically, I remember exactly when that tension solidified for me. It was a situation not too dissimilar from this. I was in high school, and this was not long after 9/11. And I was asked to do a speech about Gandhi at my local temple. And I included a line, which was just a fact that Gandhi would often read from the Quran, and I was asked to cut it. And so I refused. Thankfully, Rev Rose has a much more deft editing hand. So I would identify as a culturally and psychedelically Hindu Universalist member of SMUUCh. So, while I've never been particularly religious, I've also never really been a very good skeptic. I'm always Team Mulder all the way. I am an engineer by trade and a bit of a pop science enthusiast in my spare time. So one thing that there seems to be emerging evidence for in physics and in quantum mechanics is that space and time are not actually fundamental to the universe. What I mean by that is they are emergent. So they don't exist outside of our interactions with it. And for some, that might seem self-evident, a logical progression from, the weird quantum stuff they discovered about 100 years ago. But for some, that's a bridge too far. Einstein is quoted as saying, I'd like to believe that the moon still exists when I'm not looking at it. And so, I find it perfectly reasonable for people to, find it hard to digest that what they perceive as reality might not be reality at all. So if we can't even trust in space and time, what's the point of anything? If we're just a tiny speck floating in an infinite universe, what does it matter what you or I or anybody does in the short time that we're here? But for me, that's exactly the opposite. If space and time are not fundamental and reality itself is emergent, then everything matters. Our fate is not predetermined. Our future is blank, a field of probabilities, and probabilities can be changed. So everything matters. Every act of kindness or cruelty, all of it. Or as they say on The Bear, every second counts. So I ask you to support the work of a church that my wife had to convince me to come to and give a shot. I'm not always the best salesman for the church. Not everybody understands why I'd go to a place that makes me cry all the time. Come to SMUUCh. Even the teenagers will make you cry. How about those kids, though? I mean, amazing. Can we give it up for them? Not sure how I'm supposed to follow that, but I'll try. I'm not sure how I feel about the concept of faith, but if I do have faith in anything, it's in them. And, by extension, you all too. Even you, Kevin. But maybe faith is the wrong word. Because while I do have faith that people are fundamentally good, I also believe that's usually only the case when they believe that being good is in their own self-interest. I'm certainly guilty of that probably every day. And, I've got an amazing life, and I'm very fortunate in a lot of ways, most of which I have had very little to no control over. The end result is a life full of privilege in a world that often seems like it's dying. But with that privilege comes power, and with power comes responsibility, and especially the responsibility for me to care for the most vulnerable among us. And that's the legacy of humanity that I choose to carry forward. For as advanced as we claim to be, that's something that our cousins, the Neanderthals, were doing hundreds of thousands of years ago. And you in this room carry that legacy forward every day. It's important and it matters. You and I have that power, and I asked that you not relinquish any of that power to something so small as fear. So I'll start to wrap up with this. Any Pink Floyd fans in the house? Woo! I love them too. The wall is a powerful metaphor, but that power, it goes both ways. I will not be another brick in the wall, but I will be a brick. And maybe it's the engineer in me, but a brick has power. Never has that been more evident than now as they take a sledgehammer to the work that our ancestors bled and died for. But we are not so easily torn down because bricks have power. Ask Marsha P. Johnson how much power a single brick smashing through a glass window can have. It's got the power to change the world. So I ask for you to support the work of the church. It doesn't matter why you're here, if you're here because of Jesus or Krishna, Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, Zach De La Roca, or Mahmoud Khalil. What better place than here? What better time than now? And right now is all any of us will ever have. But it's also the one thing that no one can ever take from you. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to be a brick. I don't plan on going anywhere. We may fail. They may tear us down. But I'm not going to make it easy on them. And if they do succeed in tearing us down, and I'm still standing, I'll just start building back up again. Our future is unknown, but our fate is not sealed. And if one brick can change the world, imagine what we can do together. Thank you.
And now we have what shall be a short announcement from Fisk.
Hi, everyone. I am here to give an update on the stewardship campaign. We're halfway through our campaign. This is the fourth Sunday. We only have about 40% of our pledges at this point, so we're a little bit behind on that. But we have 234,000 something out of our goal of 583,000. That's 40%. So we have 40% of our goal, and we have 40% of our pledges. And if we can just keep this momentum going, why, then we can have a successful stewardship campaign, and we can meet our stewardship goal. Okay, that was my first thing. And my second thing is, if you've made your pledge and you're looking for your sunflower decal, the table is not the visitor's table. It's a table in the fellowship hall in front of the our budget that we have printed in there. And I'll be there, or Haley will be there, or 2 or 3 people will be there, and we have the sunflower decals. So if you've made your pledge and you want your decal, then come see me in the fellowship hall. Thank you.
Let us now do the ringing bowl. If you would like, you can put one hand on top of the other, especially kiddos. Put one hand on top of the other. Take a deep breath. Our opening words come from poet Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper, this grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and flies away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention. I do know how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is to say, I have been doing that already all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Please rise as you are gathered, as you are willing and able for gathered here, our opening hymn, number 389.
As Dr. Jan comes forward to help light the chalice, we invite you to join us as we recite our covenant. Let us affirm that love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for sacrament and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. Now we invite all the children to come forward for time for all ages.
Hello. Welcome. Look at all these wild creatures in front of me. Welcome. I see some new faces. All right, today I want to talk about our connection with nature, and I brought some artifacts with me. One of our UU values is interdependence. And that just means that we value our connection to all natural things and we care and respect for all beings. But sometimes I think we humans need a reminder that we are nature and connected to it. What are some ways you all connect with nature? Yeah. Oh, you said that you're mammals. You're just like all the other mammals. Yeah, Norman. Yeah, you take walks in parks and mountains, go hiking. That's fun. Yeah. You are animals, wild ones. Yeah, Arjun, how do you connect with nature? Do you like to climb trees? Yeah. What about you? Running? Running is so freeing. I need to run more. Yes. You like to collect rocks? Do you like to skip them sometimes in water? Yeah, sometimes. Cool. All right, well, I'm so glad you all find ways to connect to nature. I recently traveled to Japan a couple summers ago where many people practice Shinto. Shinto is an animistic religion, and that just means that people believe that all nature is inhabited by spirits, or kami. There are rock spirits and tree spirits. Even a thunderstorm has a spirit. Has anyone seen the movie My Neighbor Totoro? All right, you all, that's all your homework. You need to go see that film. It's so awesome. But it's about two little girls, and they interact with a forest spirit. One thing that's different in Japan that I noticed than in the United States is that all their cities and villages are surrounded by spiritual structures and artifacts. In the US, we have a lot of churches, and most people visit them on Sunday once a week. But in Japan, they have reminders everywhere of their connection to nature when they're walking to school, work, or to the grocery store. And I brought a couple pictures. This first one is a torii gate. And these are found all over Japan, even in the middle of their cities. These gates, they mark the boundary between our world and the spirit world. So when you walk through them, you'll often see people pause, and they are reminded that they are entering a space where there are kami, the nature spirits, and that they walk among them. In fact, in this next slide, the picture on the right, they often have a path for the spirits in the middle and then a path for people. So it just being there, it just made me use my imagination so much more and be connected to nature. And then also people in the other picture, that's me in front. I'm just in the middle of a city neighborhood, and a lot of people build shrines, or there's ones there, and there's often a bell. And you'll see people stop as they're walking to work and ring the bell. And it's just kind of like our ringing bowl. It's a moment to be present with nature and to remember that you are among other beings. I want to show you some of the artifacts I brought today. Well, some of these Jeff brought a skull. Does anyone have any animal skulls at their house? Yeah? Who can tell me, is this a predator or prey? Predator. How do you know?
The sharp teeth.
Yeah, the sharp teeth and then the molars in the back to chew on meat.
Looks like a fox.
Yeah, a fox. Yeah. Sensei Fouquet says it is a fox. Good job, Norman. So I've been finding being a part of this church and traveling to places like Japan has really made me want to connect better with nature. So I recently took a ceramics class, and I created some artifacts for my garden that I wanted to share. This right here reminds me of the little kami spirits. And I put, it rattles, so when I am in my garden, I'll rattle it to just alert myself as well as the other beings that we're here with each other. The same with this bell that I made. I ring it just like they do in Japan as a moment to be present, just like our ringing bowl. It is a snake. And then I also created this little spirit house in case there is a being that lives among me in my garden that could use a place to rest. Do you all have any special artifacts at your home that you put in your garden or yard that help you connect with nature? Yeah.
I know I have necklaces that have like gemstones in them.
Yeah, necklaces with gemstones, so some minerals. That's really cool. Yeah.
I don't put anything outside, but I have this one shelf in my room that's just like full of stuff. Like I have bones and like horse skulls and like a turtle shell and stuff. So
Cool.
It's, like, anything I find outside.
Yeah, so natural artifacts. Is it kind of like an altar?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Joy has created an altar in her room with some natural objects. Yeah. Oh, cool. One of the children said they have a seashell with dirt on it, and they like to wipe it clean, and the pearl nature comes through. Yeah, one more. Yeah, a rock collector has lots of fossils. Very cool. Well, this week, I encourage you to find some artifacts or create them like I did and place them around your yard or maybe under a tree in a nearby park to help remind you to be present and to remember that we're all wild animals. All right, before we go, you think we could sound like a wild animal? What is your wild nature? Think about it. All right, I'm gonna count down from 3. And then you're gonna let your wildness out, okay? Let's not scream. You, Rose, okay, the Reverend has given you permission. All right, are you gonna growl? Are you gonna caw? What's your wild nature? All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. Daniel, play us out, please.
Each month, we as a community take time to reflect on a theme. The children do this in their classes, and we do it here in worship and in our Soul Matters groups. The monthly theme is provided to us by UUA's Soul Matters division. Soul Matters provides our congregation with a complete packet of study materials, including readings, videos, and music that can be used for deep exploration of the theme. There's a link to this month's theme packet in our all-church email, and I encourage you to take a look at it. For the month of March, the theme is Living Love Through the Practice of Trust. I think it's interesting that the Soul Matters folks included trust as an integral part of the path of love. This doesn't always happen. Many times when we think of trust, we do so in almost a transactional way. You say you'll do something, I trust you to do it. You do it or don't do it. Cha-ching, transaction over. But living love through the practice of trust is both a courageous and a transformative journey. Love, at its core, thrives on the foundation of trust, a bond that allows hearts to open fully, unguarded, and free. By trusting, we choose to believe in the goodness of others, to have faith in the unseen, and to embrace the vulnerability that love asks of us. Trust is not about the absence of doubt, but about the willingness to move forward despite it. It is the quiet understanding that even in uncertainty, love can flourish when nurtured with patience and honesty. Through trust, love grows deeper, creating relationships that are resilient and authentic. Living this way requires a conscious effort, a choice to extend grace, to listen with empathy, and to let go of control. It's about believing not only in others, but in yourself, and the ability to love, for love to prevail over fear. Trust, like love, comes from here and radiates outward. And the first person it touches is you. The practice of trust begins within. Give yourself the gift of trust as you give it to others. Go ahead, play the recital, sing the solo, give the speech, deliver the sermon, offer the hug, speak to the stranger, heal the wound, smile at someone, change the world. Trust yourself, trust others, not as a transaction, but as an act of love. In this practice, trust becomes a gift that unites hearts and reminds us of love's enduring power.
Strong
We come to this place to see and to be seen, to teach and to be taught, to hear and to be heard. Now reach over and nudge the person sitting next to you, remembering that we're here together, gathered in peace and authenticity and intention. We also come to this place to share our joys and sorrows. If you have a rare joy or a profound sorrow, please come forward and light a candle right over here. You can share your joy or sorrow in 2 to 3 sentences, in a single word, or you can simply light a candle in silence.
Hi, I'm Karen, and Thursday night my grandson attempted suicide. He is in the hospital and he's doing better, and the reason it happened is because Josh Hawley cut off Medicaid for 20 to 30 years old. So when he went to get his medications, he couldn't.
I'm Danny, and this upcoming weekend I am going to Indianapolis because my friend is getting engaged, but she doesn't know it yet. So it's a surprise, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. And she'll say yes, don't worry.
I am recovering from brain surgery that I had a couple months ago, and fingers crossed all things go well, and in about a week's time I can go back to work full time.
Good morning. My name is Allie. This candle is for my uncle, Anthony Aguilera. He passed away this week, and he was very young. And this candle is for his wife and his 3 daughters and his sister and his father and my stepfather, his brother, but mostly for him, Anthony.
My name is Kira, and I'm lighting this candle. Last week we celebrated my dad's 87th birthday by going to the steakhouse because he loved his steak. That's just the first time we've been without him.
Hello, my name is Ted Thompson. I want to remember 22 years ago, March 16, 2003, Rachel Corey was in the Gaza Strip visiting when a bulldozer was demolishing a Palestinian home, and she was screaming, shouting, and suddenly the bulldozer accidentally dropped a hammer on her and killed her. But anyway, 22 years ago, we were still at church at the Barn Chapel on 87th Street, and after church, Nancy Quinn and I and several others, we had coffee together and talked about that.
I'm Sarah. I found out yesterday we were in 3rd grade together, a friend of mine, and apparently 3 weeks ago he got like a backache and can't walk anymore. He's got some sort of weird blood cancer and it ate one of his vertebrae, and yeah.
I'd like to light a candle of care and concern for the thousands of hardworking federal employees who have lost their jobs or whose future is in doubt, primarily because they're easy targets for small men who want to appear powerful. And I light the remaining candle for all those joys and sorrows that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. Please join me in singing our affirmation song. Our meditation today is a reading from The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. Humans are no longer the newcomers in a world of unexplored plains and forests, and our immediate neighbors are not wild beasts, but other human beings contending for goods and space on a planet that is whirling without end around the fireball of a star. Neither in body nor mind do we inhabit the world of those hunting races of the Paleolithic millennia, to whose lives and lifeways we nevertheless owe the very forms of our bodies and the structures of our minds. Memories of their animal envoys still must sleep somehow within us, for they wake a little and stir when we venture into wilderness. Please join me remain seated for our meditative hymn number 1011, Return Again.
These words are from poet, ecologist, and elder Gary Snyder. I hold the most archaic values on earth: the fertility of the soil, the magic of animals, the power of vision in solitude, the love and ecstasy of the dance, the common work of the tribe. I try to hold both history and the wilderness in mind, that my words may approach the true measure of things and stand against the unbalance and ignorance of our times. When I was 10 years old, I took a small plastic treasure chest and walked into the woods. It was just a toy, smaller than a shoebox, and the gesture was almost involuntary. In fact, I can't remember anything that was inside. It was just an imaginative boy's experiment in possibilities. At the far edge of the woods, at the base of a tree I knew I'd remember, I set to work burying this treasure. On hands and knees, I clawed at the earth beneath that tree. It was slow work, breaking through the hard outer layer to the rich, fertile soil. But I eventually had a hole deep enough that my secret would be safe. I placed the chest in the ground, covered it with dirt, scattered some leaves for good measure, and stood into a future sensing, against all logic, that someday I'd return to find an unexpected bounty. And that's when I saw a possum. Taken at face value, this is not the animal envoy one might hope for. But it was a possum, and just inches from my face. A mama possum, in fact, with her own litter of 6 little treasures peering at me from atop her back. I'd never been so close to pure wildness. I was awestruck, frightened, frozen, transfixed by her coal black eyes, until I could sense her soul ask of mine, "Are you going to hurt me?" That resonated deep within my 10-year-old body, and the boundary between us fell away. My father was a grifter, a con man. He rarely held a job to help support our family of 5. My mother worked doubly hard to make up the difference, but there were frequent and explosive disagreements. We moved often, 6 times by my 10th year. We never moved far, hardly far enough to shake a bad reputation. And in the small towns we settled in, it was tough to make friends. Even my teachers seemed to believe I should pay for the name I had inherited. So at 10 years old, standing in those woods, I'd never existed in a world that felt safe. The only feelings I'd known were isolation and loneliness, uncertainty and fear. But bowing beneath that tree, I still believed there were things so precious they must be protected. In the eyes of that possum, I recognized fear and uncertainty. In the eyes of another, I saw her desire to protect what was precious. That sameness hit me like a flash. I was never meant to bury a treasure that day, but to uncover one. What happened beneath that tree was sacred. The shared understanding that no one can tell me otherwise is one of the tenets I appreciate about Unitarian Universalism. Sacred may feel out of step with what was, until recently, a science-minded, mostly rational world. But some truths transcend categories. Some truths are equally provable, poetic, and profound. Every living thing is a child of the universe. The carbon and iron in our bodies were eons in the making, sent sailing to us from the collapsing cores of distant stars. We are energy and matter made conscious, our intelligence and instinct, the very forms of our bodies and structures of our minds, shaped by the unseen forces and fellow travelers on a planet born 4.5 billion years ago. Human and possum, plant and animal, brother and sister. This view of living in relationships that are beyond our understanding is at the heart of animism, the oldest religion on earth. This perspective predates agriculture, civilization, literature, logic, and reason. Animists believe that everything in nature has a dignity, spirit, and soul, that stones and sparrows, rivers and ravens, even dewdrops and dandelions have something to teach if we'll listen. The early animists left us the painted caves of Lascaux and Chauvet and several others. Today we marvel at the beauty of those animal images, but primitive painters had no interest in art. Those paintings were acts of sanctification. Our ancestors adorned caves in rituals that celebrated their relationships with and dependency on their plant and animal neighbors. Our seventh principle declares respect for the interdependent web. The painted caves declare our ancestors' 60,000-year-old understanding of the same. Provable, poetic, profound. Just 50 years ago, at the height of the environmental movement, scientists James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis tried to raise our awareness of this interdependent web. They published a paper known as the Gaia hypothesis. The title was an homage to the mythological Gaia, Earth Mother, a goddess who comes forth from chaos, represents fertility, and nurtures all forms of life. Through their research, Lovelock and Margulis argued that the web of life on our planet is so interdependent, so complex, that the Earth actually behaves like a single organism, a planetary being. This is poetic and profound, but the scientific community cried out that it was unprovable. The authors were ridiculed for such a foolish, childish perspective. Yet we live our lives talking about the human world as if it is ours, as if our actions have no consequences, as if we can take and take and take without any consideration of what should be given in return. Which view is more foolish? Which perspective more childish? The Gaia hypothesis is similar to our ancestors' belief that thunder and lightning meant the sky was angry. It does not need to be literal to keep us alive. It does not need to be provable to provide instruction. We live in a culture deaf to myth and metaphor, where mystery, reverence, and wonder have fallen out of favor. We can reduce, reuse, recycle, compost, drive hybrids, and install solar panels. And we should. But scientific solutions will never solve our primary problem, which is emotional alienation. We have forgotten our place, grown emotionally estranged from the earth that has always sustained us. Think about it. Mother Earth is our oldest teacher in recognizing the dignity of all beings and selflessly providing for the needs of all others. Maybe that's a metaphor, but it's also a truth that transcends. For millennia, her fertile flesh nourished our bodies, her caves were our sanctuaries, and our elaborate rituals kept us in right relationships with the flowering, the furred, and the feathered. In the physical and mental landscapes of our ancient ancestors, every step was a communion, every breath a sacrament. These primitive people were smart enough to make offerings for the many kindnesses the earth offered them. Are we advanced enough to expand the bounds of our compassion, to radically reaffirm our place in this web? We feed the hungry. Could we be nourished by the rainwater found in fallen leaves? We shelter the homeless. Do you sing with the coyotes displaced by our expanding cities? We march in the streets for justice. Would you dance with your shadow for rapture? And we comfort the sick and the dying. Will you pull soft, broken bodies off the interstate and bear witness? Such a world may seem impossible to imagine, but this world is dying for us to remember. This boundless recognition of being gave rise to our humanity. I know, because a possum in the woods gave rise to my own. In response to her fear, I felt compassion for the first time. Her maternal instinct was a welcome lesson in tenderness. In a place deeper than reason or intellect, everything within me knew I was standing in the presence of something so much larger than myself. And at just 10 years old, I felt honored to be part of it. Not special, honored. Buried beneath our rationalism, deep in the fertile soils of our psychology and evolutionary past, this is our inheritance. Every fiber of our being has been shaped by a sense of belonging to something, powerful and humbling, timeless and expansive, unbidden and sublime. These feelings that once roamed wild within us deepened our connections with what's most precious around us. These are the lessons of the ancestors and elders, plant and animal, Mother Earth and Mama Possum. Practicing these teachings, small acts of remembrance and renewal, may be our best hope that someday, thousands of years from now, some other child might wander into the woods and still discover the boundless wealth of this world. May it be so.
Thank you, Jeff. The work of the church depends on us, our generosity of time, wisdom, and financial resources. We invite you to give generously to support the ongoing work of the church. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Go into the world, place your hands on the earth, and find some small treasure that reconnects you to your wild and precious life. Blessed be.